Making a Halo helmet from 3D prints isn't always bad, but considering how often I make these, it was very important that I start thinking about molds and the sake of my fingers. So, I'll be making a mold of the Halo Reach Recon helmet, and I'm using filler primer Rust-Oleum for this one. I've noted in the past that some different paints do not let the silicone cure, and I know for a fact that this stuff does work. However, I should have experimented, picked out a sort of a glossy colors for this project, but I was in a rush, so take my advice, do some experimenting. This is how I measure out the equal parts of the silicone, just half and half, but I've made mistakes in the past where it didn't cure properly because I put bad amounts. Now this right here, after I put a few coats of silicone on the helmet, it drips, and I use my old pliers that I got from a CR10 kit to remove it. Next, after you make the first two layers that capture the details, this is Thivex right here. This turns the silicone into a much thicker paste, and when it cures, it will have no different effects on the mold. All it's doing here is making it easier to apply. Leftover silicone you might accumulate will be used in these little molds I make, these little squares. These right here you put on the mold, these are registration keys. When you make a hard shell of a mold, that's called the mother mold, and it needs these so that the mold doesn't move around or flop. And the needles help keep it in place. Trust me, these make it a little easier and less of a nightmare when you apply them on. That's a lot of needles, but yes, now for the most part, the mold is pretty much complete. I usually put one final coat of silicone to make sure that this is a really strong rubber at the end of the day. Next, it's the mother mold, and it's a freeform epoxy dough. Right here, it's the same. It's equal parts. You don't put one little thing and it cures. Right here, I make out roughly equal measurements. And I just start mixing with my hands, with gloves. Trust me, you want gloves for this. It sticks. And I just start kneading a bit, really mixing it. Think of it as if you're a baker. You're really kneading that dough. And this is just for half of the mold, by the way. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough to make a very thick mold, but if you ever do this, make sure that the mother mold is very thick. Trust me. You'll see why in a moment. But after making half the mold, I use this ease release, which makes it somewhat easier to remove the second half of the mold. After we're done with the mother mold, removing the actual mold itself is a bit of a pain, and I always worry I'll break the helmet doing this, since it's actually locked in tight. But fortunately, I was able to remove it without much of a hassle this time. Next up, we're going to be using Smoothcast 300, a white resin epoxy. This stuff you rotate in the mold, and this is what you get. And the amount I showed you right here is good enough to make at least 4 to 5 helmets, 6 if you're really on top of it. And even though it was a little hard to make helmets at this time, I still made quite a few, with my favorite being this green one right here. Now, unfortunately, I made the mother mold too thin, which causes problems. This ODS T-mold mother mold is much better since I made it extra thick to avoid that. As of now, I'm offering parts for the Mark 5B armor, the stuff that we see in Reach, and a couple of other accessories if you're interested. Stop by the shop, we'll be making parts, and yeah, have a good one.